Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, August 2nd, and welcome to Amsterdam. The time right now is just after 5 p.m. and the temperature is about 27 degrees Celsius. And this would be my second day in the city. So for this one, I'm just going to take a walk and head over towards Centraal Station, which is the main train station here in Amsterdam, and that's where I arrived from the airport yesterday via train. So I'm just going to kind of make my way up that way. I'm pretty sure I know where I'm going. And I'll talk about some of my initial impressions of Amsterdam. I'm going to keep my fake tour guide hat in check for this one, as I really don't know much about where we are. This is my first time in the city, and actually, despite being fairly well traveled, it's my first time in Europe. My hotel is just down that street. That's the Hotel Mercier. And Amsterdam is a city of canals. And just before recording this, I took a wine and cheese boat tour around the city. I didn't learn a whole lot, but I had a lot of Heineken. So perhaps that'll have some kind of influence over this one. I think this street is Princess Gracht. I apologize for my mispronunciation of everything. I have noticed along the canals, a lot of these sidewalks are rather narrow. You often find yourself stepping out into the way of cyclists that don't really want to slow down for you. I'm guessing that's a byproduct of all the tourists in the area. And this intersection is pretty interesting. There's a tram that runs along the street, and there's a fair bit of traffic, but there are no traffic lights. Instead, they've got these crossing guards. I think this is my first time crossing the street where I haven't seen a tram. And off in that direction is the Dam Square, or Dam Square, D-A-M. So we're going to head over that way, and then I'll walk up to Centraal. And a few minutes in that direction is the famous Anne Frank house. I'm sure I'll be walking right by a number of notable and historical spots and have no idea. Feel free to point those out in the comments down below. There's a machine where you can get tickets for the tram, the bus, or the metro. When I got here, the first thing I did was I bought a day pass. And that, I think it cost between 8 or 9 euros, and that gives you 24 hours of transit usage. But I haven't used it yet, so I've still got that in my wallet. This is certainly a walkable city. wine and cheese tour I took was 30 euros. And it lasted a little over an hour, and it was all the cheese and alcohol you could consume. And they gave some interesting information along the way. And that departed from right there, actually. That is exactly where I boarded. And one thing I haven't seen a lot of here are public bathrooms. So they've got that in common with Toronto. Also, waste bins don't seem to be all that common, but we noticed as we were sitting in the boat here waiting to dock, there was another boat ahead of us. There was a smell of sewage, and well, I guess you could guess what specifically the smell was, because this here is a urinal. So our boat was sitting right there. And we were watching a few gentlemen come in and out of this. I guess there's no one in there. That is pretty gross. And that stunk. One thing that's interesting they mentioned on the cruise is that a lot of the barriers along the canals are actually not installed by the city, but rather by insurance companies. A lot of cars parking along the canals over the years have gone into them. And they've also taken out bicycles and pushed them in. In fact, every year I think they find around 1,500 bikes in the canals. And electric cars like Teslas, or any car that has an automatic parking system, tend to struggle with the canals. So that's the boat I was on. I sat at the end. I think the street is Radhuisstraat. Oh man, my pronunciation is going to get murdered. Although it's interesting, you don't have big street signs with the street names over the intersections here. There's the Nadia Hotel. And Amsterdam has a reputation of being the bicycle capital of the world, and I would certainly believe it. There's more bikes than people in this country. There's a tram. I don't know if vehicles are allowed in that lane that the tram is in. And these tracks do have large grooves in them, so I imagine bike tires would get caught in them. I've seen images from Copenhagen, I think it was. There's kind of rubber grooves in the tracks that prevent bike wheels and that sort of thing from getting caught, but I haven't noticed that here. But the one thing that hit me right away was how quiet it was. I walked out of the Central train station. There was a number of people, but you couldn't hear the buzzing of motor engines. There was no loud sounds from buskers or street performers or preachers. This is probably the loudest it's been my entire time here. There's a look along one of the canals. These canals are man-made. And Amsterdam itself sits below sea level. And it's not on the most solid of ground. That's why, one of the reasons why the buildings aren't very tall. Another reason is they're looking to preserve as much history as they can. And any new buildings would match the sort of look and feel and height of the existing ones. But you will notice some of the buildings have a lean or tilt to them. And a lot of them are built on old wooden foundations that have started to give way. And they've since been replaced or modernized. See, that guy on the bike didn't even slow down. He just assumed right away. In Toronto, if cars are king, here definitely bikes are king. In fact, around my hotel, you often find yourself stepping out onto the road because the sidewalks are so narrow and crowded, and then bikes just buzz right by. And I think tomorrow I'll rent a bike and get out. Maybe I'll do a video and a live stream. There's a lot of construction in this area coming up. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Netherlands is home to the tallest people in the world per capita. And you'll notice things like urinals and toilets and sinks being a little higher than you're used to. This is the Magna Plaza. One thing I appreciate about Toronto is a lot of older buildings like this will often have a plaque on it. I'll tell you how old it is. So in under 1 million people, it's not a big city, but it certainly feels like one. Everywhere you go, there are streets full of people. I think they're currently celebrating Pride in Amsterdam. I noticed a lot of Pride flags out. And this is Dam Square. I guess you could call it Pigeon Square. And off in that direction, in a little over 5 minutes, you'll find yourself in the red light district. I went for a walk through there last night, and it is rather interesting. You're not allowed to film there. This is sort of the main street. I think it's called Damrak, D-A-M-R-A-K. That is the old train station at the very end, so I'm going to find my way up there. I might detour a bit. You'll also rarely notice bicycle helmets being used here. I guess that's one of the benefits of often not finding yourself riding around fast-moving traffic. Something that happens in Toronto all too often. I'm guessing it's mostly tourists that annoyingly walk into the bike lanes here. So I'm hoping later on this trip to do a transit video. I'm here till Saturday. Today is Tuesday. I got in yesterday afternoon. It looks like there's a screen telling you the arrival times of the trams on their way. Amsterdam is not known for its food, but apparently the pancakes are something you have to try. There's a place I think called the Pancake Bakery near where my hotel is. And there's also these French fries that they sell in large cups. I had one yesterday. It was pretty good. Nothing to really write home about. I'm going to go through the alley here, as I think there's a very busy street running parallel to this. Burgers are a common food here.
Europa.
So I'm not sure the name of the street. There's a lot of big retail brands here. There's a Zara. Cheese. Let's cut through here and go back to Damrak. I'll probably be revisiting some of these streets in future videos. I just wanted to get something recorded. It's my second day here. I have noticed a few quirks with the hotel, and the lady next to me on the wine and cheese tour said she was staying at a really high-end hotel that had a lot of the same issues, or I guess quirk is a better word. For instance, there's no fridge in the hotel room. And I bought some drinks on my way home last night, and I thought, no big deal. No fridge, no problem. I'll just get a bucket of ice. Well, guess what? No ice machine. So I went down to the front desk, asked if I could get a bucket of ice. And they kind of looked at me a little weird and said, okay. And the guy went into their bar and he pulled out a few different kind of pots and buckets and said, would any of these work? And then he filled it up with ice. It's a little hard to believe a hotel of that level wouldn't have that, but I guess that's just par for the course here, as the lady on the tour boat next to me also said her hotel didn't have an ice machine or a fridge either. These are the fries I had yesterday. Actually burnt the roof of my mouth. The large one is 4.75 euros, and then you have to pay a little over €1 more for your choice of sauce. I got a mayonnaise-based one. Look at this, a main street with a protected and dedicated bike lane right next to the tram tracks. Imagine this along Queen Street West. I think that would be the best candidate for this sort of street in Toronto, but we're definitely far too car-centric. There's the big event hall. And I've always heard about lax service in Europe. and people going to restaurants and the wait staff not being very attentive. But I haven't found that to be the case at all here. People have been friendly, the service has been good, the prices have been extremely reasonable. I had an omelet this morning and a fresh real orange juice, and it came to around 12 euros. And I only had an hour before the wine and cheese tour. And they served me right away. I had a nice seat right along the canal. Food was good. City sightseeing. Oh, there's a newer style tram. It's what we'd call a streetcar in Toronto. There's a lot of people waiting to board various canal tours. I'm guessing it's mostly the tourists that are the cause of all the litter here. I would say our streets are a bit cleaner. Of course, living in a city and just sort of walking through the main touristy area for an afternoon are vastly different experiences. The only other major cities I've lived in my life are Seoul and Korea. I was there for 5 years, as well as Toronto, where I've been most of my life. Although I've certainly spent a lot of time exploring. Maybe we can go down this way. There's an alleyway. I'm not sure if this is going to let me come out where I want to. I was saying I've certainly spent a fair time exploring the cities I visited on foot. I think I know Bangkok quite well, Tokyo, Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi. I even did what is not recommended and explored a lot of Manila by foot. And of course, a lot of American cities. These alleys are full of cheese shops. It says Central Station, go right, and tourist. Oh, tourist information booth is to the right. So if I go right, that'll kick me out to where we just were. Let's just go this way. This street looks like a good candidate for a video from top to bottom. I've noticed a few places labeled as casinos and gambling houses. There's an erotic superstore. I have not yet been to a coffee shop. Weed is, of course, decriminalized here. I think people are allowed to grow up to 5 plants on their own. Although where the coffee shops source their weed from is a bit sketchy, as legally they have very few options to obtain it, but it's one of those things where no one really questions where it comes from. That's something I've yet to partake in. Gotta be careful here. Hey, no bikes allowed. Café de Stir. I've noticed a lot of Argentinian restaurants, and one of the tour guides on the boat tour was from Argentina. And our other tour guide was from Rotterdam, but she said she grew up here. English breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All right, so we've got to cross this busy bike route here. That lady's just standing there. There we go. Is that legal? That's a Vespa in the bike lane. I've noticed a lot of e-bikes here, more than I thought I would see. But in terms of e-scooters, I've only seen a few. I don't think those are fully legal, at least not yet. Yeah. Look at this bike parking. That is a crap ton of bikes. Well, it looks like I might be missing a signal here. Lovers, the #1 canal cruise in Amsterdam. I really wouldn't want to cruise like this unless I was sitting right by the window. That's one of the reasons why I sat at the back. There's a modern hotel to Ibis. I bet they have fridges and ice machines. And look at all that bike parking. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous in a good way. Only one of these waterways here is not man-made. This is an extreme amount of bicycles. I think this is picture worthy. Unfortunately, I'm stuck using an iPhone for this trip. What happened is I bought an eSIM. It was 20 USD for unlimited data for 5 days. And I figured I would just hotspot to my good phone. Noting that obviously the iPhone is not my good phone. And the eSIM plan did not allow for that. So the main entrance where I came out is over there, but look at this. When I rent that bike and record a bike video or two, I'm gonna have to come this way. I was almost tempted to walk that way. It's one of the problems when you don't really plan these things out. Although this camera I'm using is almost out of battery. I recorded a video at the airport on my way over and just didn't top it up. I do have another one on me, but so my overall first impression is this is a pretty awesome city. I'm here for 5 nights. I don't know if that's just right, too little, too much. But they've got such an excellent transit system that getting to a nearby city is not a problem. There's a number of spots worth visiting just 30-40 minutes away. Got an advanced metro system, interregional rail, this tram system. I don't really see any buses. There's some badass police bikes. This will lead you down into the metro. When I got here, Google Maps suggested a route taking a tram down to my hotel, which is about, it said was a 20-minute walk, and usually when Google says 20 minutes, that means in real life it's like 13 or 4 minutes, but I found it took the full 20. I was also probably looking around. But this is what impressed me. I think it was these doors here that I walked out of when I arrived. And I saw this huge crowd of people. But it was dead quiet. Let's get a view of the water. And I'm going to see about setting up a stream, if that's possible. Yeah, I'm sure I missed a lot of information. This is not by any means a tour of Amsterdam. It's simply, I wanted to get a video done. Maybe this will get the ball rolling and I'll be more productive on future days. I'm also here with a couple of friends and I'm trying to experience things without the camera in hand as much as possible as well. This looks like a good set of stairs where I can sit down and fiddle with my live streaming. A nice restaurant down here by the canal. So I'm sure I'll be out and recording more videos, but I hope you enjoyed this walk, starting from wherever it was I started, making my way up towards near the main station. There you can see Canal tours. I think 1 hour guided boat tour. I think that's 10 euros. I would rather take one that had some booze and cost a little more. There's the Victoria Hotel. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides where I'll be posting videos from my trip to Amsterdam. Well, is that a Doubletree Hotel, a Hilton? You will see some more modern buildings every now and then. And another thing you really don't see are skyscrapers. And that's something I think you will see in other big European cities. Also, there's a super thanks button below if you wish to say thanks that way as we watch this boat try to dock here. The boat I was on was probably about this long, and it had to do a lot of three-point turns navigating the narrow canals. He made that look easy. I guarantee you Most people could not have done that so smoothly on the first try. But apparently you don't need a boat license to operate smaller boats through here. Anyways, that's enough jibber jabbering. I'm gonna see about doing a live stream. If not, maybe I'll do another video, who knows? But thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.